They met later than they planned to. Not because of hesitation, but because life had a way of delaying things that mattered. When he finally arrived, the city was already quiet, streets washed clean by recent rain. Her apartment was warm, lit softly, the kind of light that didn't expose details but invited them. She poured wine without asking what he preferred. He didn't comment. Some choices don't need discussion. Conversation started easily, but it didn't rush anywhere. Words moved slower than usual, interrupted by glances that lingered a second too long. He noticed the way she listened with her whole body, not just her face. She noticed how comfortable he was with silence, how he didn't fill space just to claim it. The tension wasn't loud. It was patient. When he stood close enough that she could feel his warmth, either of them stepped back. His hand found her waist naturally, not possessive, just present. She leaned into it without drama, letting the moment choose its own pace. Their kiss wasn't urgent. It was exploratory, built on curiosity rather than need. The kind that pauses, resumes, changes rhythm. She smiled against his mouth, aware of how awareness itself had become the most intimate thing in the room. They moved together slowly, shedding layers without ceremony. Touch became more deliberate, less accidental. Fingers traced skin not to rush toward anything, but to learn. When he pulled her closer, she responded instinctively, trusting the quiet communication between them. The world outside the room disappeared, not dramatically, but gently, as if it had simply stepped aside. Later, they lay together in the low light, bodies close, breathing synced without trying. There was no rush to speak. His hand rested along her back, absent-minded and sure. She traced circles on his chest, feeling how calm could be just as powerful as intensity. The intimacy didn't end when movement stopped. It deepened. When they finally talked again, it wasn't to define anything. It was to acknowledge how rare it felt to be fully present without performance. She said it felt easy. He agreed, adding that ease didn't mean shallow, it meant honest. They stayed like that longer than expected, wrapped in warmth, letting time soften around them. What made the night memorable wasn't what happened physically, but how little needed to be exaggerated. Desire didn't have to be loud to be real. Sometimes, it lives in low light, measured touches, and the shared understanding that closeness can be powerful without needing to prove itself. Morning arrived quietly, filtered through thin curtains that softened the edges of everything. The city was awake again, but the room held on to its calm, as if it had decided not to rush them out. She moved first, careful not to break the closeness too abruptly, padding to the kitchen to make coffee. The sound of water boiling felt louder than it should have, but comforting. When she returned, he was sitting up, watching her with the same attentive ease he had the night before. They talked in fragments at first, about sleep that had been deep and uninterrupted, about how rare that felt. He mentioned the way the light changed the room, how it made the night feel intentional rather than accidental. She smiled, admitting she kept the lamps low because bright light asked too many questions too early. The honesty of that landed gently between them. They shared breakfast without planning it. Toast. Fruit. Coffee that tasted better than usual. Conversation drifted toward ordinary things, work, music, small preferences, but it carried a new texture now, layered with understanding. When their knees brushed under the table, either pulled away. Touch had become familiar, unforced, a language that didn't need translation. Later, standing by the window, she rested her head against his shoulder, watching the street below. He wrapped an arm around her, not tightening it, just offering presence. The intimacy had shifted from heat to steadiness, from anticipation to comfort. It didn't diminish what had come before, it clarified it. Desire didn't vanish. It settled, becoming something sustainable. They didn't make plans far into the future. They didn't need to. He asked if he could see her again soon. She said yes without hesitation. Not because the night demanded it, but because the morning confirmed it. Sometimes connection proves itself not in how intensely it begins, but in how naturally it continues. When he left, the room felt different, not empty, just expanded. She opened the curtains fully this time, letting the light in. The low light had done its work. It had made space for something real to start, unpressured and unafraid. And as the day unfolded, she carried that quiet certainty with her, the kind that doesn't fade with daylight, because it was never built to hide in the dark.